What is up, my dudes? We're taking on the repair over by Magic Carpet. This thing has been fun, but it's just falling apart, and at this point it's cambered and it's overhanging over the edge, so it's no fun. I mean, every time I ride up to it, I just feel like we can do better, guys. We can do better. So, get the Bobcat in there. A lot of people don't like it. It can be destructive, but in the grand scheme of things, even though it breaks stuff, it gets a lot done, considering that we don't have that many people volunteering. So it allows us to bring bucketful of dirt pretty quickly, and allows us to complete builds really fast. So here you can see that the rubber mat has basically laid on a 10-foot strip, and the stuff underneath is held tight pretty good, but everything around it has crumpled. So our aim here is to build that deck again so that it's nice and wide, not too wide, but at the end of the day we're repairing 6 to 8 foot section. So even if it's wide, it doesn't matter, because when you're riding your bike, you're looking at a tiny little strip ahead of you. You're not really trying to go off the side. If you've ridden here, you know that it's a 10-foot drop off to the side. So we basically bring it bucketful after bucketful as close as we can, dumping it as close as we can. It's still like 2 or 3 feet below the line, so we're just grabbing shovels and shoveling it up. I'm bringing a bunch of boulders for support, so I'm bringing a lot of boulders. At first I brought boulders, but here you can see a lot of dirt. This is what we call the stinky shit. It's got cement mixed in, drilling slurry, and it's, you know, really good. It holds together really good. Here I bring 2 huge boulders. There's one visible and there's another one underneath, and these are gonna serve a foundation for the build. You're gonna keep everything nice and tight over time.
Put old Jim Beam in my hand, 'cause you know I still love to get drunk and hear country sounds. But don't play your cheating heart, that'll tear me all apart. I get whiskey bent and hell-bound. Yeah, old Hank song always make me feel down.
Once we're done with that section, we'll move on to the build below, the climb that's below, the one we've been driving over for, you know, the whole morning. It's pretty much destroyed. Whatever carpet was there, it's ripped up, and it's basically sand. It's just all sand. This area of the trail was built when they dredged the lake, so they basically brought a bunch of sand and dumped it there, and it was shaped at one point by mountain bikers, but it's just, you know, you can't ride on it. It's just sand. So I started doing some cleanup here with a Bobcat. I'm getting all these logs out of the way. There's years and years of logs just piled up there, and I want to get all that out of there so I can get some good traction, and so that I can see where the ground is, and I move it all out of the way as quickly as I can. Here I kind of run into a little bit of a pickle, because I'm trying to get to the bottom of the dirt, and I basically pull out just multiple layers of 15-year-old carpet from what used to be a trail, and this is off, like, this is like 10 feet off of the current trail, so apparently that used to be the trail, and, you know, this stuff is rotted, and I just say, you know what, I'm just gonna put it back. We're not riding on it. I will just put it right back where it was, and I'll continue working, because I've gone into these areas thinking, hey, I'm gonna clean up this area, I'm gonna get it good, and then I start trying to pull out carpet, and I end up pulling you know, miles of carpet, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth our time. Here I'm smoothing out that area. I'm getting all that sand out of there, and just pulling all the sand off to the bottom, and getting a nice clean site so that I can begin bringing some fresh dirt, and I can see that I'm actually putting it in the right place, and I'm getting a nice even layer as I bring it and I dump it. This is gonna work out in the future when we're doing repairs, so that we know that, you know, we brought a nice thick layer, and if we see holes, then we'll be able to identify where it held together and where it didn't. So there's a little bit of detective work when you do these things. As time passes, you can see where people are braking, where people are getting off their bike and digging their heels into the ground. So there's definitely a bit of a science to it. Here's a finished build for that climb. We raised it about another foot, so there's a nice little peak right there. And this is the Magic Carpet section. There's no more rubber mat, and we tamped it really good. We left this other rubber mat there because, you know, people like the sketchy stuff. So we don't want to be sanitizing the trail so that it's safe. We want to make sure that we leave the sketchy stuff because, you know, if it's doable, then it's doable. There's no point in fixing everything. One of the downsides of the Bobcat is that the bucket is, you know, it's 72 inches wide, so it's like 6 feet wide, 7 feet wide. So it's you know, you get what you get. If you do builds with it, you basically get 72-inch wide builds, and in some sections it's good because it's going to fall apart, and we know that we're gonna have to come back in less than a year to fix it. So if we have a feature that's 72 inches wide, then we know that the vegetation is gonna grow and it's gonna leave a 2-foot wide trail, and then on the sides we're gonna have, you know, 2 feet of material that we can use at a later date to fortify that or rebuild it. So there's a bit of a looking ahead, planning ahead when we make these things, but we just don't want to make things too wide because then it kind of takes the fun away. It also feels like you're going slower. Disclaimer, this isn't meant to be a tutorial or a how-to guide on how to do repairs and builds. Every site is different, every park is different, has different dirt geography and requirements. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.
Morning sun comes, thinking of my